The iPhone SE 2 is coming very soon, and I'm going to be sharing the details right after this. If you're new here and want to stay up to date with the latest tech, please hit subscribe followed by the bell. So we're getting plenty of leaks and renders surrounding the upcoming iPhone 12, but more importantly we have the release of the iPhone SE 2 just around the corner. In my last video we referred to the device as the iPhone 9, and while many people are arguing that that's the name, my sources advise that the iPhone is going to be called the iPhone SE 2 or maybe even the iPhone SE Pro, and it's going to be coming very soon. People were speculating that the iPhone SE 2 could be launched at Apple's Worldwide Developer Conference in 2020, but we have new news of the iPhone SE 2 being launched at an event on the 31st of March, which is of course next month. There were previous reports of an early launch, and this does make sense as Apple are then able to get plenty of sales from the A13 powered iPhone SE 2 before they launch their flagship in September. Interestingly enough, the original iPhone SE was also launched on the 31st of March way back in 2016. Now when it comes to the iPhone SE 2, many are disappointed at its resemblance to the iPhone 8 and describing it as a cop-out in terms of a release. While this is essentially the case, it's actually much more than that, and I think the iPhone SE 2 is a benefit to both Apple and its consumers. The iPhone SE 2 will cut costs by adopting a similar design to a previous model, but it's also going to be containing the A13 Bionic chipset, so this allows Apple to deliver a true budget alternative to their high-end Apple phones without compromising on the performance. We've already had plenty of leaks surrounding the device, including the design, specification and pricing, so today we're going to be covering it all. We need to remember that while it doesn't look like the latest iPhones, the iPhone SE 2 is incredibly cheap in comparison and a good choice for those that want a less expensive phone. Thanks to OnLeaks and iGeek's blog, we already have full 360 renders of the iPhone SE 2, and these were based on CAD data for the iPhone SE 2. For those who don't know, OnLeaks has also been incredibly reliable lately, so there's little doubt that this is of course what the iPhone SE 2 is going to look like. The iPhone SE 2 is going to measure in at 138.5 by 67.4 by 7.8mm, and if we include the camera bump on the rear, the thickness is 8.6. The iPhone SE 2 has thick bezels both above and below the display, and of course looks very similar to the iPhone 8. We get a 4.7-inch liquid retina display with an aspect ratio of 16:9. Now we do need to remember however that liquid retina is simply just an Apple marketing term with no actual meaning, so it's essentially just a 4.7-inch LCD display. We've got a dedicated home button on the front, and this will of course feature the Touch ID sensor, but it's thought that it's not going to feature the 3D face unlock. On the right hand side we've got the power button with the alert slider on the left, and we of course have a lightning charging port at the bottom. On the rear of the device we've got a frosted glass panel which does differentiate itself a little bit from the iPhone 8. We've got a single camera in the top left corner accompanied by an LED flash. We of course have the Apple logo centrally on the rear, which is slightly different from the iPhone 8. The iPhone SE 2 is going to be coming with the Apple A13 Bionic chipset, which is the same chipset found in the latest 11 models. The iPhone SE 2 is going to come with 3 gigs of RAM and a choice of 64 or 128 gig storage, and it will of course be running iOS 13. It's reportedly coming with a 2050 mAh battery, and it will include the usual features such as Wi-Fi, Bluetooth and GPS. Now while many complain that the battery capacity is small, we need to remember that it's a small phone. It's marginally bigger than the iPhone 8, and of course it contains the A13 chipset, which means that the iPhone SE 2 is actually going to be more efficient than previous models. Ming-Chi Kuo has estimated that the launch price of the iPhone SE 2 is going to be $400, and many other sources are agreeing. While people are going to slate the iPhone SE 2 for its outdated design and camera functionality, that's not really what the phone's about. Especially in 2020 with iPhone prices being so high, releasing a budget phone like the SE 2 allows more people to purchase iPhones. While it doesn't look the most innovative and doesn't have the best display, it does of course have the latest chipset, meaning the iPhone SE 2 is going to work with the latest software versions and run all of the latest apps without any issues. In using the body of a previous iPhone, they've saved a huge amount of money with production as well as their research and development, meaning they can bring a phone to the consumer at a much cheaper cost. From Apple's point of view, the more people that have iPhones, the more money they can make in services, and with the success of the budget-friendly iPhone XR in the past, we can expect the iPhone SE2 to perform just as well in sales. When it comes to naming the phone, it seems like a very bad idea to be calling it the iPhone 9, but many still believe this is going to be the case. I personally don't see this happening, and with Apple being so good at marketing, it's going to be interesting to see what they actually do. My source is claiming the name as the iPhone SE2, but saying there is a chance it could also be the iPhone SE Pro. There are also rumours of the iPhone SE2 Plus, or maybe an iPhone SE Pro Plus, but leaks are pretty few and far between right now. All we have is rumours of a 5.5-inch display, and if the iPhone 8 release is anything to go by, then it means the iPhone SE2 Plus is going to have dual cameras and a much larger battery capacity, probably closer to 3000 mAh. As I stated earlier, the iPhone SE2 is expected to launch next month, and we already had reports that assembly of the devices had begun. Wistron Corp, Pegatron Corp and Hon High Precision are reportedly hired for the assembly, and the process has already started. There have already been many delays due to recent outbreaks in China, and while Apple have officially announced a reduction in their Q2 revenue, they haven't mentioned any specific delays in the iPhone SE2. And the outbreak will of course affect both the production of the iPhones as well as the AirPods. Of course, as any more solid information comes to light about the iPhone SE2, then I'll be sharing it with you guys straight away, but as always, I'd like to know your thoughts in the comments. Who out there is waiting for the iPhone SE2? Do you think the launch of a budget phone is a good idea? And what do you think the final name will be called? But thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, smash a thumbs up. If you didn't, hit the thumbs down twice, and I'll see you guys in the next one.